walked into this experience, not knowing the mission, not knowing the platform, thank you very much, Anchor, which I'm new to Anchor. My podcast is now in Anchor, in iTunes, in Google Play. So, you guys, I now have two podcasts. Thank you very much, Anchor. So I'm going to let Sherman take it away and explain what he does. But first, I have a question for him. And my question for him is, as you guys know, I'm the slowly the education field. I just said to my boss, I'll quit in 5 years. That's it. By that time, I will have the fashion journalism degree. But my question to Sherman is, now, how do I explain what I do? Because a lot of people look at content creators like they have two heads when they say, I create content and make money off my content.
Okay. So ultimately, for you, the question really is how do you share with people what you do at work?
Yeah.
And so I think for a lot of, in the world that we live in right now, the best way to answer it is just to show people. So we live in a show me world, and some people take that opportunity. Then what they'll do is they'll show photos of their food, or just take selfies of them at different events. And I think when you start using it for, let's just call it what it is, your reputation, what you are and who you are, you have an opportunity then to share with the world, this is who I am. And so it can take away from this question of what do you do if they can already see it. So I think there's a huge opportunity. Obviously, you're on a podcast. Your audience already knows what you do, right? You interview people, you find out their story, and you share that with the world. And then so if people are unfamiliar with that podcast, you can use Instagram, you can use Facebook, you can use Twitter as basically teasers to that podcast. And so I know that some people, they want to know basically, how do you make money? Does it really matter? I think we're all aware of how celebrities sometimes make money, but sometimes we don't, right? Like The Rock used to be purely an entertainer as a wrestler. And now all of a sudden he's just an entertainer. And so that can go, we don't mind if we see him in the big screen. We don't mind if we see him endorsing, a nutritional supplement, because we know who he is. And we don't really, I think people are more interested in who he is as an individual, not necessarily stuck on what he does. And so then if I'm in your position, I would be leveraging social media just to share with everyone who I am. And by people that are interested in your content, they'll be able to figure it out.
Yeah. And now, if you guys go to the crazyasian.com, you'll find Sherman's podcast there, and me, of course, and Sherman's guest, like yours truly. And one of the most interesting podcasts I found on your end was the Facebook ROI, which means return on investment. And do you want to share the story about Facebook?
Yeah, absolutely.
By your book.
Yeah.
Especially if you want, because you have an interesting story on Facebook. I've been personally blown away. I was like, whoa! I didn't know you could do this, but obviously you can. And because of what's going on with Facebook right now and the Cambridge Analytica thing, I'm personally off Facebook. You guys know that by now. And so you can't find pieces of me on Facebook. And I have a little addiction to Facebook. but there wasn't any Facebook Anonymous where I could go and share my addiction. So I just decided to take it off my phone, and then when Cambridge and was that I deleted my account, and that's a long story. But I wanted to have someone share the Facebook love note story.
All right. Well, thanks, Gwen. Number one, thank you so much for letting me be on your podcast and share some thoughts. When it comes to my experience on Facebook, we'll have to just rewind it back to 2014. I was a single father, 3 sons, ages 10, 8, well, actually 9, 7, and 4. And I moved from the Milwaukee area, which has a population of about 1 million people, kind of the greater Milwaukee area, up to central Wisconsin, which is, if you take the entire county, which is just massive, it takes probably about almost 45 minutes to drive about 75 miles an hour across it width-wise. It's huge. And there's about 134,000 people scattered throughout this entire county. So the small community that I ended up moving into has about 60 to, I think if you kind of count everybody all in, if you get basically a 10-mile radius, you get to about 100,000 people. So I just moved to this rural area. That's the easiest way to describe it. And I, single dad, you're trying to do all that you can for the boys. I have 3 sons, now 4. And at the time, you're just, the likelihood of meeting someone is just very small. Then you add on top of it, I moved to a new community, a very small community. And so a buddy of mine, for the longest time, I was a single dad for almost 6 years. Over those years, he's always encouraged me to reach out to his sister-in-law. And I was like, it's just, thank you, but, it's not kind of in my realm or anything like that. And so in 2015, ended up breaking up. I got dumped. Let's be honest, that's how it was. By my girlfriend at the time. She was going to med school, and it just, the distance, it just didn't make a lot of sense. And so it was the right decision. And so it was around that time that my buddy's like, hey, I really think you should reach out to my sister-in-law. And so in 2014, when I moved here, that summertime when my boys, so I have them the majority of the time, and then just for 7 weeks, they'll go and visit my ex-wife, their mom. And so I'm a single guy, and so I visit my buddy and out in the DC area, and I'm introduced to his sister-in-law. And no sparks flew. It wasn't love at first sight, but we talked. We had a conversation. She had just graduated from college, and then I go back home. She's actually from the Marshall Islands. So if you were to look that up, it's basically the middle of nowhere. If you and I wanted to fly there right now, you would fly into Hawaii from wherever you are, and then from Hawaii take about a 4.5-hour, 5-hour flight southwest to the Marshall Islands. And there's really good odds that it's going to be on a Tuesday, Thursday, or Saturday, because they don't fly out every single day. And if you Google Maps this, it's basically the shape of a crescent. It's just a very interesting place. Anyway, so she ends up going back home, is working, and so finally my buddy's like, just reach out to her. And so in 2015, a year later after we met, I just add her as a friend, and of course my buddy reaches out to his sister-in-law. Her name's Melody, and says, hey, just so you know, my buddy's going to reach out to you on Facebook. And so a few days go by, and I don't think much of it, right? Because just you're adding a friend on Facebook, and then she accepts, and then we just start communicating, like, hey, what's going on? And all of a sudden, it goes from like a 30-minute conversation to about a few hours, and this is all through Facebook Messenger. And just because of the spottiness of the internet, for the first 2 weeks, all we did was just message back and forth on Facebook Messenger. And then I remember having a Skype phone call with her, and I was totally nervous, and I don't know why. I just because we've been talking for a long time, and we were spending hours on Facebook Messenger, and we're just talking, and things, conversation's still flowing, and then next thing you know, that was in June, and then in August, I said, "Look, we're spending hours. We're talking several hours a day on Facebook Messenger, Skype, video calls, when the internet was a good connection." And then finally, she rolled the dice and she flew out here, took the 24-hour flights, the 3 various connections. I drove 3 hours to go pick her up all the way in the Twin Cities. And we still got along for that week. Either it was gonna be the most amazing week or the most awkward week. And lucky for us, it was awesome. And then she went back to the Marshall Islands. She's working in hospital administration. And then I'm like, you know what? If this thing has any teeth, you got to come out here. We got a date. And so January of 2016, she comes out here, lives at a buddy of mine in their basement. So we're able to date and get to know each other better. And lo and behold, basically a year from when I first added her as a friend, we got married. And last year, in 2017, we had our son together.
Ay, 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 ay. So you went from a virtual relationship to obviously a real, passionate relationship.
Yep.
And this is my next comment. These dating apps work, but they, once you take it offline, it's even better. And so if you guys are trying the dating apps, take it offline and make sure you like the person, because they can hide behind a computer screen like the no fall, and they can hide behind what they think is their, I'll just call a computer personality, and you won't even know that the likes and dislikes until you take it offline. So.
Very true.
And so if you had to be educated by anyone, who would it be and why, and what would you ask them? And then it can be inside or outside the field.
That's a great question. So if I could learn from someone, right now, off the top of my head, one of the guys that I idolize is Sam Walton. And one of the first questions I'd ask him is, the face of Walmart today, is that what you envisioned it would look like? And what would he be pleased about where Walmart is today? And mainly, I'm fascinated by that because if you read the book Made in America, which is a biography on Sam Walton and how he built Walmart, it seems like it's an overnight success. But he started this back in the 1940s when he had one or two and with his brother, and then actually went door to door to sell private stock to all these people in Arkansas in order to make payroll. And there was, he had actually thought about shutting it down because it wasn't taking off. And so I'd love to be able to. I love that passion, that persistence beyond what you could see. Another person that I would love to be able to just talk to is Phil Knight, or Buck Knight as he's nicknamed. And he's the one that started Nike, and a phenomenal book called Shoe Dog, where he tells his own story. And the question that I'd love to ask him is, what made him persevere for a decade selling shoes when jogging and running wasn't like it is today, when it was going to track meets and college meets? What made him think about doing that? Like, why? So that's kind of where I'm really empowered by people's stories and really like to hear why they do what they do.
So I have a question for you. And why is your podcast